hence Atauda killed Ariat. Abrahatu el-Ashram became the ruler of the army, and people of Yemen accepted him. Having succeeded in his aspiration, Abraha set his mind on his next goal. He proceeded to build a beautiful cathedral at Sana'a in the hope that it would become the center of worship of all of Arabia. Hindered by the venerable Kaaba in Mecca, Abraha decided to destroy it, thereby destroying his only obstacle. Thus in 570, Abraha set out for Mecca with a sizable army, accompanied by his trained elephant Mahmud. Because the army of invaders were mounted on elephants, this year became known as the Year of the Elephant. Abraha expressed no wish to harm the people or town, only to demolish the Kaaba. A delegate of Meccans, chiefs, of which Abdul Muttalib, Muhammad's grandfather, was included, sought out to discuss the matter with Abraha. Though they offered him a substantial monetary amount, Abraha refused, as the Quraysh delegate refused to let any harm come to the Kaaba. On the advice of Abdul Muttalib, the people retreated to the hills and outer sectors of the city to await the next move. Abraha and his army prepared to enter the city of Mecca, making their elephants ready for battle. When Abraha's elephant Mahmud was made to face the city, Nufail bin Habib, who had been hired as a guide, took hold of his ear, commanding him to return from where he came. The elephant knelt at once. Then Nufail left to join the people of Mecca in the hills. The soldiers tried every measure possible to convince the elephant to move, but it would not budge from its place. When they set out towards Yemen, it immediately got up and started off. But when they set out towards Mecca, it knelt down again. Then Allah sent them crafts that are called birds in the Quran, birds with sijil pillets. The retreating army was struck with pestilence and disease in the form of measles and smallpox. Abraha himself was so diseased that as they took him away, his fingers fell off one by one. Where each finger had been, there arose an evil pus-filled sore. By the time he reached Sana'a, he was no more than an invalid. It is said that as he died, his heart burst from his body. He was also cursed with leprosy, as Quran 105, 1 through 5, originally revealed 19:105. So the birds, they will eat the flesh of the rulers, who are the red and black Arabs, and the flesh of the heads, who are the leaders of the evil reptilian empires, and the flesh of the strong, who are the ones who made war, and the flesh of the horses and their riders upon them, not the ones on the horses following the lamb. These are they who will assemble for the war of Armageddon, and the flesh of the free, and the slaves, young and old. And I, John, son of Zebedee and Salome, so the beast, which were the combined efforts of the cursed seed, of the cursed seed, of the combined efforts of the cursed seed of the evil one. Of the evil one to finally conquer the Messiah and his holy ones and the rulers of the planet Earth, the same who watched in horror as Babylon was destroyed. They will not help her in fear that they would fall with her, but now they will fall by the sword of the Messiah. And the armies gathered together to make war against him, the Messiah. Jesus, on his return, that sat on the horse, and against his army the 144,000. And the beast was taken, and with him the lying news bearers, who are the fake gods and false Christs, and with his hands, who with his hands made signs, producing fake miracles, such as Simon Bar-Jesus did, which he used to lead many into darkness, because they have been deceived by these lying charlatans into worshiping the evil reptilian. Those who took the mark of the beast in their foreheads and in their hand, and those who prostrated to his image, worshiping some pale Jew Jesus, both of them were cast into the lake of fire, which is burning with sulfur. This is the second death of the soul. You have already experienced death once. Your first death being the 9 months gestation period in the womb of your mothers. Death, the state without life, is the time before the sperm fertilized the ovum. Life. The stage of life is when the sperm meets the ovum. Death. The next stage with life is death. It takes place when you are in the womb of your mother, because at this point you do not take care of any of your own needs. All of your food, warmth, etc. comes from your mother's body. Life. The next stage with life is birth. This begins man's lifetime on the planet Earth. In his lifetime on Earth, man's duty is to obey the Creator and show gratitude for all of his gifts. Death. The next stage is death. This stage is marked by the loss of the breath of life, that 2.5% of ruach, soul, which is also 2.5 ounces of weight also. Death, the state of his life after death. At this point, man will be judged by his sins, and all his agreeable and disagreeable deeds will be weighed. Death is a transition from one stage to another. The spiritual body houses the soul on the spiritual plane. When the breath of life ceases to exist in man, the ethereal cord between the spiritual and the physical body is cut, allowing the person to live a new and independent life. Likewise, the spiritual body after the breath of life ceases to exist. The soul is greater than life because when life is no more, the soul remains forever. A dying person usually sinks into the slumber of death and wakens after a period of restful transformations. In some cases, the spiritual body will be visible to those close to the deceased. The spirit, together with the 2 1/2 of soul, the breath of life, is the last thing to leave the physical body. The spirit then becomes drowsy and sinks into the preliminary sleep of the spiritual plane. If the person is spiritual, they need little preparation to move on to higher spiritual planes. They must slumber here for only a short span of time. Of the person who was highly spiritual, their souls will pass at once to the planes and even bypass planes and go to the heavens. The soul is everlasting. At death, it only rests on another plane until judgment day. Death is like sleeping. The period of time between the day we die and the day our souls are resurrected is comparable to one night's sleep. Man will not realize that he has died until the day of resurrection. Once the breath of life has ceased in man, he experiences a warm feeling, which is the great light. At this point, he sees Muhammad, Ahmed, al-Mahdi, and all the souls of the righteous who passed away before him. Then he will be placed in an unlit grave, which is equal to triple darkness. The solitude will force him to reflect on his inner self. He will have no choice but to face the reality of who and what he really is. He will stay there for a period of time. For those who believed in Theos as the creator in all his scriptures and made no distinction amongst any of Theos' prophets, this event will not frighten them. It is the idol worshippers who will meet this occasion in horror and fear. They will not understand it. The Christians and Catholics call this the limbo state because you won't feel anything. This incident occurs after man experiences the great light. True believers will welcome this occasion and await the next events to occur. After this period of darkness, two arched, disagreeable Anunnaki Elohim, Munkar and Nakir, will visit man in his grave and question him about his faith. They are specifically assigned to torment the coverers of truth. The coverers of truth and those who have gone astray and resorted to all vile deeds, sodomy, fornication, murder, intoxication, etc. Once on the graves, the prayers of these souls will not be answered. Munkar and Nakir were the disagreeable Anunnaki who headed the 200 fallen Anunnaki Elohim with Iblis that fell from Theos' grace on their own will. These two are identifiable by bodies which have been burned black from the evil reptilian's heat, and they have eyes which are as blue as the eyes of the physical devils on earth. These two souls will come and sit by each being's side and torment his peace in an unlit grave. They shall question his faith in a very beguiling manner. Each soul will be asked, "What say ye of our Muhammad?" The believers will respond saying, "Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah," which translates, "I bear witness that Muhammad is one sent from Allah." But the cover of truth will respond saying, I never knew that man Muhammad." This is because he never once let the truth enter his heart. The reward of the believer will be that he will be allowed to have a look at the place reserved for him in paradise. Then immediately he is given a glimpse of the seat in hell he has been spared. He sees many relatives and friends and loved ones, so he may rest a while without anxiety. The cover of truth, the kafirun and the hypocrites, the munafiqun, will be allowed to glimpse at paradise because they did not respond with the correct answers. They testified that Jesus was their sustainer and savior. They also did not acknowledge Muhammad, who brought the Quran. At this time, the Messiah Jesus will intercede and deny ever telling the people to worship and deify him. The demons are then sent to peel off the skin of the idol worshippers, and the elements of the earth will attack them. At this time, their beauty will be no more. The whiteness of their eyes will change to darkness. The second death will take place in three parts. First, there is the day of standing, when all souls will be raised. Then there's the day of judgment, when all souls will be judged according to how they live the laws of the Most High. And then there is the last day. Those who receive an atom's weight of good in case they were obedient to Eli will go to paradise to live eternally. They will no longer experience death, suffering, or pain. But those who didn't accept and live by the laws while on earth will suffer eternal damnation. This is the second death. Holy Tablets chapter 2, tablet 5, entitled The Death of the Slave, goes into even more detail. It states, "Lo, when the term of the leaves is over for the slaves, and the 40 days of his life remain to him, his leaves begin to fall. And his leaf in the room of Enki, who bore the title Israel, by this sign he knows that he is commanded to take the soul of its owner. After that, its owner is called dead in the galactic heavens, while he is alive in the face of the earth for 40 days. Marduk will descend with the scroll of the Anunnaki of death from Anu Alyun Alyun El. Are you listening, people? He has a major role in our procreation, our life, and our death. Excuse me. So do you still want to believe that the Canaanite Caucasian beast man captured him? Continuing. On it is written the name of the one whose soul he is commanded to take. At the place in which the soul is to be taken, the cause for which it is being taken are written. In reality, Adamites do not die. They merely transform from state to state. 2 drops fall below the throne of the name of its owner. One is green and the other is pink, which is any of a group of colors reddish in hue. If the red drop falls on the name, he knows he is wretched. If the green drop falls on the name, he knows that he is happy. And as for the knowledge of the place in which he will die, the Anunnaki that is entrusted as a guardian to everyone born entrusts the information. He is called Rahmun, the Anunnaki of the womb. When one is born, he is created. He is then commanded to register in the drop, which is in the womb of the mother, wherein the dust of the earth he will die. So the slave becomes a corpse and changes, then turns to the place where his earth was taken from, so he dies in it. His words are, I am where I am and where I have started, and this is where I have ended my journey. Thus ends one journey and begins another. This transformation is called death. It is also related that when a slave is in the death struggle, his tongue is stopped, and 4 Anunnaki come to him. The first one says, the peace be upon you. I am entrusted with your provisions. I have flown through the planet east and west and have not found any morsel of your provisions at this hour. The second then enters and says, the peace be upon you. I am entrusted with your drink of water and other drinks. I have flown east and west and have not found any drink of water for you at this hour. Then the third enters and says, the peace be upon you. I am entrusted with your breaths. I have flown east and west and have not found one breath for you. The 4th Anunnaki enters and says, the peace be upon you. I am entrusted with your term. I have flown east and west through the planet Earth and have not found 1 hour for you. The one on his right says, the peace be upon you. I am entrusted with your right actions. So he brings a page and spreads it before him and says, look at your deeds. So he is happy. The one on the left says, I am entrusted with your wrong actions. So he brings out a red page and spreads it before him and says, look at it. So he sweats. His sweat pours down and he looks right and left for fear of reading the page. The Anunnaki insists and puts it down on his pillow and leaves. Then the 2 harsh Anunnaki descends, burning the planet with their talons. They are Munkar and Nakir. So they sit with him and they say to him, who is your sustainer? Who is your news bearer? What is your way of life? If he is of the people of happiness, he says, my Rab, my El Rab, sustainer is Anu, Adunel, most glorified and exalted. My spiritual guide is the Son of Righteousness, he who El Ilo, most glorified and exalted, guides with his illustrious scripture, the holy tablets. My way of life is Nuaubu. Then he says to him, then they say to him, sleep, the sleep of the bridegroom. And they open a hole in his head, and he looks through it to his seat and plays in the enclosed garden. Then the Anunnaki returns with his Ruach soul to the skies, and they place the Ruach in a candlestick attached to the throne. Unquote. Munkar and Nakir are real. Munkar and Nakir are real. They are also called Harut and Marut in El's Holy Quran 2:102. They are also called Gog and Magog in Babel, Sumer. The scroll are their black devils, authored by Noble Reverend Dr. Malachi Z. York L. 33 degrees, 720 degrees, Imperial Grand Potentate of Al-Mahdi Shrine Temple Incorporated, International Supreme Council of Arab Shrine Incorporated, puts the final touch on this topic with the question on page 117. The questions are asked of the Grand Al-Mufti, Divine Noble Reverend Dr. Malachi Z. York L. 33 degrees, 720 degrees. The question is, who is a black devil? Can black people really be devils? Where are they? The Grand Al-Mufti, Divine, answers, speaking, for many years, blacks as a whole have been discussing how the serpent seed, the cursed seed, or race is the devil, or the Luciferian, the serpent, Nachash, as found in Genesis 3:1. Blacks use this to hide the fact that there are Afro devils as well. I don't mean an Afro devil by conversion. Someone who started listening to the Luciferian and became a devil by doing devilish things like selling drugs, robbing, raping, and killing. That is a special kind of devil who is converted into devilishment. I am not talking about him. I am not talking about this kind of devil. I'm talking about Afro devils, black people, and Negroids who are devils, like the black fallen Elohim gods with blue eyes. You've heard about Harut and Marut, according to Noble Quran 2:102, which states, and they followed what Shayateen, evil ones, the reptilians, Tatlu, recited against the Mulk rulership of Shilomo, Suleiman. And Shilomo was not one of those who concealed what he knew to be facts, but it was Al-Shayateen, the evil ones, the evil ones, the reptilians, who kafaru, concealed what they knew to be the facts. Yu'allimuna, they taught the Inusites el-sihra, magic, and what was unzila sent to el-malikaini, the two angelic beings, Harut and Marut, Gog and Magog in Babel, Sumer. Being a black devil has nothing to do with light eyes, so don't fool yourselves. I'm talking about the brother or sister whose skin is dark brown, light brown or beige with kingly hair, curly or wavy hair, neither. People of color like me and you. Don't be fooled. Just look at the story of Zahra and how she seduced the two Elohim gods just to get the secret name of Yahuwah so that she could ascend the heavens. The two Elohim gods, Harut, Gogo Azar, and Marut, Megogo Azael, fell from grace due to the evil deeds of a black devil who incarnated to the earth. The two Elohim gods fell to the temptress named Zahra, also called Nuida, Nahid, Bilukla, meaning flower. Originally her name was Qabi'ala, the mother of Layla, the shadow time, and mother of all witches and sorcerers. Notice how Layla sounds similar to Lilith, meaning evil spirit, evil female spirit. Layla was unsurpassed in beauty and was a test to trick the Elohim gods. Zahra was from the tribe of the original Elohim gods that were cast out during the first war in heavens between Tarnush and his 10 followers. And she was of the species called Kafirun, meaning concealers of what they knew to be true. Quran 2:34. The Elohim gods Harut and Marut and Azariah were commanded by God to descend to earth and rule the inhabitants justly and refrain from intoxication, adultery, and fornication. They personified as men during the day on earth and returned to the angelic abode every night, stripped of their earthly body. Here again, the Elohim gods are illustrated as men. One of the Elohim gods, Azariah, requested to return to the angelic abode, the realm of the Elohim God.